the second Sunday of Lent. And I'd like to propose that we have two liturgies in the first reading and in the Gospel. The first, from Genesis, Abram, whose name will be changed to Abraham, is invited to a journey of faith. Faith based on a promise and a covenant, a contract initiated by God, saying, if you trust me, your descendants will have as many as the stars in the sky, and you will get not only descendants, but the land, fruitfulness. And I will make this with you, and I will be faithful to your covenant, to my covenant. Can you trust me? And so it begins, this historical journey through the history of Israel. The Gospel presents another liturgy. The liturgy in Genesis was a sacrifice pledging fidelity, sacrifice of animals. The Gospel is known as the Transfiguration, a time when Jesus stepped out of natural perception and was seen in a glorified state. I don't know how that happens. Hasn't happened recently. But Jesus invites the James, John, and Peter up the mountain, where in biblical times the mountain was the place of revelation, as it was with Moses. And they go up there to pray. That becomes a big theme in this liturgy today. They are praying. And all of a sudden, Jesus is seen as discussing his exodus, his salvific movement, the exodus referring to Egypt and the Israelites coming out of Egypt and being saved by the faithfulness of God. So Moses, representing the law, and Elijah representing the prophets, the whole history of Israel then. So we have Abraham, Moses, and Elijah. This is part of the liturgy. So in a way, just grant me this, they have the first reading. That is, the presentation of Moses and Elijah. Now the liturgy changes to the presence of Jesus in his humanity and his divinity. And of course, because it's a liturgy, Peter, James, and John fall asleep a little bit, but they wake up and there's this presentation of Jesus glorified as a promise that his exodus is going to result in freedom as the original Exodus resulted in freedom for the Jewish people, that Jesus is headed for a time of liberation of God's people, being faithful to the God of Abram. So they are praying, and there's a presentation of Jesus to his little church, his little gathering. And as we heard last week, Jesus was tempted not to listen to what he had heard in his baptism. You are my beloved Son. Today, the gospel presents another time, another ordination or proclamation saying, this is my presence among you, my body among you. So it's, in a way, it's a communion service. It's a presentation of the real Jesus asking the real apostles to be real. The transformation of Jesus is not the transformation of the apostles, but the representation that you are my companes, you are my companions, you are with me as I am with you. And I want you to be real. That Jesus in his humanity, praying, asks the apostles to accept that they are real, and they are going to really be present. That they will not be transfigured, but transformed by his presence, by his real presence. And so they receive it. It's in one way, it's a foretelling of the Eucharist. For this purpose, Peter, James, and John say, this is a great place. Let's do this a lot. Let's build 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah, and let's stay here. Jesus said, this is not real life up here. This is transfiguration. It's revelation. But now we go down the mountain to be with my people. And it's not in today's gospel, but the very next verses, this is chapter 9, verse 39, is they get to work. Remember a few weeks ago we had Luke's Beatitudes, given not up the mountain, but on the level. So that they come down, they are missioned by the encounter, by their prayer, to be real. Now the question is, when are we real? And my offering today is, we are real when we are missioned, as they are in verse 39 of chapter 9. They encounter a needy person, and they continue this mission, having heard, having seen. We are going somewhere. We are on a journey, and because of our encounter with you, the apostles say, we feel more real, more who we are. And maybe that's the prayer of Lent and the prayer at our Eucharistic liturgy. I come to make you real. Not to be transfigured, but to be transformed into what is unreal about you, into what is real about you, and what is real is the ability to reveal the goodness of God in the simplicity of our life, on the level. And maybe to be real is to be poor enough to receive and rich enough to give away. So it's a transfiguration of Jesus and the transformation of humanity into receiving and sharing. It's our Lenten prayer, our transformation.